the principal weapon among the Beornings, and my personal favorite weapon ever, is the bow, like this. Specifically this type of bow. This is my favorite bow that I've ever had, even though I haven't been able to shoot it yet. One, because of the cold weather, and two, because I don't have a pass to get back into the archery range that I always love to shoot at. But anyway, this one I just recently received a couple weeks ago for my 24th birthday, and it is 45 pounds. Yeah, it's heavy. It's a pretty big jump for me. Been doing more pull-ups, trying to get stronger, and figure, well, I want to try and increase the poundage. One, to exercise my muscles more, and also so that way I can close my groupings. And if you don't know what that means, it means that when you shoot, then where your arrows land are a lot closer together than, as opposed to going up to your target and looking like you're just spraying arrows everywhere. So if you have your arrows closer together on the target, like in one ring or something, for example, that's like, those are really close groupings, and that's what I aim for. In fact, there was one time when I got a really good bullseye, and I mean a straight bullseye from 20 yards away in this archery range. And it's funny because that was after I was grumbling to myself about how impatient I was, and about the self-control that a lot of archers struggle with when trying to aim and to release the string. And because when you have a heavy bow pulled back, sometimes you can only hold it for so long before your muscles start trembling, and so it makes you just want to release it right away. And so that can throw you off big time. That's one of two ways to destroy accuracy. The other way is to just pull it back and just snatch at the bowstring. But, here, I'll show you. And this string is reinforced, and in fact, so are the ends, to make them a lot stronger. And see, the reason that I like recurve bows the best is because of this here. That's why it's called a recurve bow, because the way it's designed is so that with the string basically slapping the limb when you release it, it gives the arrow a lot more speed and power behind it. And this one is 5 feet long, counting these curves. And so, like, I can, you know, sling it over my shoulder and it won't drag on the ground or anything like that. And anyway, the arrow rest is cushioned and everything. The handle fits my hand, and it's made of wood. It's reinforced with, I believe, fiberglass. But I'm getting off track here. So with this particular bow, I need to exercise, because see, as you can see, I have to strain quite a bit to pull this thing back. And I need to get out of the habit of just holding the bow and pulling back the string. Because when you do this, what you're supposed to do is push the bow away from you and then pull the string as you're pushing the bow itself. So, like this. I mean, I'll try to. Yeah, see, this thing is heavy. I mean, it's been established that I can pull it back, but it's hard to hold it for very long. And so, what I'm trying to do once in a while is to practice pulling this back to my anchor point. Yeah, see, and these muscles right around here is what just flares up and hurts when I try and pull this back. It's been a step, but since it's been established that I can pull it back, then I can really only go up from there. I'm sure most people have not heard of this before, let alone used one. This is a stealth quiver that I was also gifted. Now, if you saw my video labeled stealth quiver, then you saw the quiver that I made out of fleece and had a drawstring at the top. This is different. Sure, the arrows do rattle around a little, but see, the reason that this is called a stealth quiver is because of this slot in the side. Now, the purpose of it is so that way, when you reach behind, you can grab the end of an arrow and notch it into the bowstring and pull it back. Now, see, this thing is mainly meant for hunting, so that's why it has this hole in it and why it's a stealth quiver, because just reaching back to your hip and notching the bowstring and pulling it back is much less conspicuous than, you know, reaching back and raising your arm up, pulling it back. So, like, if I were chasing down a pack of wargs, for example, and was trying to take one of those down, which do you think would catch them by surprise the most, especially if I were hiding in the bushes? And so, and I like the movement. I like being able to draw from the hip. And of course, you get more out of it if you reach here, because then you can grab the head almost right away and then kind of slide your hand, slide it down your hand until you've reached the flights here, and then knock it in. So try to get the coordination of that going, and it can be a challenging feat, but it works. And see, here at the bottom, there's two clips here. One on this side and one on the other. And that depends on which side you want to draw it from. Now, because I pull back with my right hand, and that means that the fletching would have to go out this way. Since I am a lefty and need to draw the arrows that way, then here's what I would do. I have it specifically on this clip, because that way the hole here is exposed instead of up against my back like this. So that way, reach in and you can loosen your grip on the shaft, but also, you know, you don't want it to just free fly. You just want to have your grip loosened just enough so that way when your fingers meet the fletching here, it won't just slide through. And then from there, you can start working your way toward knocking it into the bowstring and then drawing it back. Started using these type of arrows. These are carbon arrows, and the reason I started getting these, and why you can probably see I have more carbon arrows in here than these aluminum ones, is because the aluminum arrows, as efficient as they are and good for shooting, here's the problem. They bend. If you hit something hard, hit it in the wrong place or whatever, then the shaft can bend out of shape. Now, that can be an okay thing for some people, because then if it bends, you can bend it back into shape. But with me, every time I've tried it, and I mean every time, it just made it worse. So I've been just getting carbon arrows, one, because these particular arrows, they're skinnier, so I can fit more of them into this quiver. They're lightweight, and yet they can withstand a poundage of 50 to 70 pounds. So for all I know, I could probably be using arrows like this for the rest of my life. This bow I'm going to be using for probably for decades without getting a new one. Because it's got, I guess you could say it's got all I need for now. The poundage, a good string, the proper design of a recurve bow, and like I showed you, the ends and the middle of the bowstring are hardened. They're tough by these wrappings. So this thing is going to last me a long time. I'll probably end up sticking to this one until I've got a beard down to here, you know? My last bow, when I started using the carbon arrows, I think it was because the carbon arrows fletching is a lot stiffer, and a lot of the fletching would point and curve downward. I would get scratched right here along my hand, as if I were using an off-the-hand style bow. And so because of that, I ended up getting one of these, an archery glove. And now this goes on your bow hand, and this particular glove, the way you put it on is you've got this hole to go through your thumb, this one through your middle finger, and so then wrap this around, and now you want it nice and tight. I'm not sure if snug is the right word, but you want it to be tight enough so that it will stay in place, but also loose enough so that it won't cut off your circulation. Arrows have been shot over this glove many times already. So that's one thing that you should keep in mind. And here's the other thing. With this bow being so heavy, and my arms not being as strong as I wish they were, I need to use a bow stringer to get this thing right. And in fact, I've left it strung this way because it took forever to get it strung. Now with a recurve, if you're strong enough, what you would do is you would put the curve over your foot like this, and then have your other leg through here between the limb and the string, and pull the string up and use your arm and shoulder blades to bend this limb down and slide the string up into place. Make sure it was secure. And of course you would want to make sure that this end was secure too. Well, I tried that the day I got this, and I couldn't do it. It was way too heavy. In fact, while I was doing it, this one came out. Since I can't really do it by not just by muscle, I need to use a bow stringer. So here's how it works. You secure one end of the bow, preferably the bottom limb, into this little sleeve here. And then the other end of the bow, you have this loop. And now see this, this I haven't seen before, but this piece of rubber here, under all the pressure that it's under when the bow is being bent, it stays in place. This thing will not slide down the limb by any means. But the way it works is when you've got both of these ends in place, and you've got one end of the bowstring secured with the other end of the string hanging loosely on the other limb, is you hold the bow in two hands and you step on this stringer and you pull the bow up and you hold it, and as it bends you start sliding the bowstring down until you can get it notched into the opposite end of the bow. And it's good to have your feet wide apart when you're doing it. So the end of the stringer is here, the bowstring is here, and the other end of the bowstring is still in place. Yeah, you give it a little tug to be sure. Because you don't want, and because of this thing's extreme weight, if this thing isn't secure, you don't want it to just fly down the limb, because that can hurt you. And it could probably hurt the bow too. You don't want to take that kind of risk. All right. So you pull this up. This stays in place. And as you can see, I'm holding it underhand when it comes down to it. So, wait, what was that twang? Okay, it's in place. It's fairly simple, you know, very simple if you've got the muscles for it. And like I said, I do pull-ups, and I'm trying to do more, so that way when the time comes and I can get back into that archery range, pulling this thing should be fairly easy, and this muscle won't be hurting so much. Oh, now it's not. Maybe next time I string it, what I'll do is put more power into this hand to exercise it. And this sleeve, you can see, is folded really tight. So, if you've got this end secure, and you slide this in there and you tug it, you pull it really tight, then it shouldn't be able to come loose at all. Like, under any circumstance. I'm afraid that's all I've got about the bow and arrow right now. If you have any questions, just ask, leave them in the comments, anything like that. But if any Beornings out there are willing to give this a try, and want further instruction from me, same thing applies. Just ask.